Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a ESPN mock draft. We're going to be trying out different strategies on how to win your dynasty and redraft league. Today, obviously, redraft. We're doing it on ESPN. If you are looking for other websites and how to use their ADP, I'm going to have videos covering Yahoo and Sleeper as well. But this draft is about to get going. I have the 9th pick, so we're going to get into this thing. And really just let you know kind of some of the strategies I would be using if I'm drafting on ESPN. Just keep in mind too, obviously take a look at the league settings. These are going to be pretty basic here over on ESPN. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex, DST, kicker, defense, some bench spots, pretty basic standard stuff over here. It's going to be a 16-round draft. I do have the 9th pick. And we're going to be using different strategies to help you guys figure out, A, how to pick from certain spots in the draft, and B, how to execute those strategies specifically. So for me, we're either going to be going with one of 2 strategies here. We won't really fully decide yet until we kind of see how our first couple rounds play out. For me, although I may prefer certain strategies, I do tend to just, pick the best available player for the first couple rounds of any given fantasy draft. I really don't try to force it. And we're going to see what happens here. Sitting at the 9th pick. I would love to be able to get Derrick Henry. I think that would be the guy ADP-wise that could be here. And looks like he's going to be here. It went Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Barkley, Lamb. Looks like Genty just went. So we're going to take Derrick Henry here with the 9th pick of this draft. And probably with that being selected, I am most likely going to be going with a hero RB build. So those of you not familiar with that, basically that means I'm going to take 1 super stud running back, and then I'm going to load up on maybe some better receivers to follow that up. Maybe not take my second running back till round 5 or 6 or something like that, while I try to get some other elite players on my team first. So, this really couldn't have gone any better up to here. Some wide receivers. I would have loved for like a Nico Collins or an Amon-Ra to slip down to me. I do think that's a little unrealistic. So for me here, I'm definitely willing to bet on the upside of Drake London to be my wide receiver 1 here on this team to pair with Derrick Henry. And we're going to be up again at 3-9. Probably still going to be looking at another wide receiver, unless for some reason they all do go. Then obviously I will be comfortable going with a different player or something. But in general, if we're going with a hero RB build, you really do want to load up and get multiple stud wide receivers to get the advantage on your league there. What you're hoping to do is, hit on some sort of mid to late round running back to be your RB2 and really let the strengths of your other positions carry you to a championship, So it's a little tough on ESPN. I know a lot of us draft on Sleeper and stuff. I'm trying to do some different websites as well. Hopefully this view might be a little easier for you guys to follow along with. I as well, having to figure it out. Actually, this is probably going to be the best view for sure. So it looks like we're at 212. First round went Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, CMC, Gibbs, Genty. I took Henry at 1-9. Then 3 wide receivers came off the board. Neighbors, Puka, Amon-Ra, Achane, Brian Thomas, Nico Collins. I went Drake London. I was deciding between him and A.J. Brown. I think I would mostly lean Drake London if I was doing a smaller amount of leagues. I do really like A.J. Brown and think he's being undervalued as well, though. So I think he's a pretty good pick in the middle of the 2nd round, too. So I'm really not too stressed here. So coming up to our 3rd round pick here, kind of surprised to see Brock Bowers still here. So if you are drafting on ESPN, I don't necessarily think I'm going to go try and get Bowers in the 1st round. But if he somehow slips to the 3rd round, that's going to be pretty crazy value for you. And I really wouldn't expect that to happen. And I think that's why I want to do different drafts on different websites, because I really do think you can kind of game theory and take advantage of what website you're playing on and what players are going to go on said website. So we're sitting here, we're about to be up, and Brock Bowers literally has not gone yet. So I don't know if that means you're going to be able to get Brock Bowers in this situation. I don't know if I should take him just for the sake of this video, because I have a feeling he would be gone. And there we go. Brock Bowers goes. I think I would have taken him, like obviously best player available. He was the best player available. For me, though, I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is an amazing pick in the third round of your fantasy drafts. I think he's being a little underrated there. And I would absolutely love to get JSN in the third round of my draft, especially if we're going with a hero RB kind of build. So we're going to be up pretty quick again here. And we are either going to be drafting for our flex position. We could maybe look QB tight end if we're going with the hero RB build. Wouldn't really mind getting another potential wide receiver here. Does look like Joe Burrow's still there. Tight end wise, I don't really say I'm in love with anything here. I just think this is too early to take a quarterback personally. So I think we're just going to go with running back, someone who I think is pretty good value right now. And it's going to be Alvin Kamara. We're going to pair him up with who I think are two very good wide receivers and Derrick Henry to start this draft off. So this is a very, very strong core to start off. And I'm probably going to be looking to come back at wide receiver again in the next round. I think there's some good value here in the fifth at wide receiver. Guys like Devonta Smith, George Pickens. I mean, I don't know who's going to be there. I think we're going to have to see. I would expect guys like Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers to go off the board. It does just look like, some players are going off the board here. Nothing too crazy, though, yet. We're not up for a while. Travion, Cortland Sutton, Chuba Hubbard, and Joe Burrow all coming off the board here. This is going to be a PPR league, so wouldn't mind getting my flex to be a wide receiver. So I don't know. What kind of guys do you like targeting in this range? If you're watching, make sure to drop a comment. Let me know how your drafts are going, how your mocks are going. I am trying to figure out the best values for you guys on ESPN. So it's interesting. I think the ADP market is always very different on certain sites, and it can tend to really give you some pretty good deals on players. There's some pretty good wide receiver value down the board here on ESPN from what I'm seeing. So I do feel like hammering RB early might be the way to do ESPN. I mean, getting Henry and Kamara, we were able to get two very good wide receivers as well. But even just looking down the board here at wide receiver, like there's some guys that I would be pretty comfortable taking in the fifth that I may even be able to get in like the sixth round. I think Tet McMillan is very interesting. George Pickens, Devonta Smith, like I said. I mean, obviously DK, Xavier Worthy, I would take either of those guys. Tight end wise, I mean, I really like TJ Hawkinson. I think for this specific team, I'm not really going to be going there. Same with Mahomes. Like, I don't mind taking Mahomes as the QB5 or whatever. I'm basically out on probably the next 4 or 5. And at that point, I'm just going to wait and see who's going to be there. So to go back to the board here, a lot of wide receivers going in this round right before me here. Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, Laporta, Ridley, Devonta Smith, Jameson Williams. So we're going to be up next. Xavier Worthy goes here. I mean, I really wouldn't mind going DK here at all. I think that's a pretty good pick. Like, yeah, Dunze, Jameson Williams, Worthy, but I think DK is just such a solid pick here that we're able to go pretty wide receiver heavy and still end up with two very good running backs here. And I'm probably still going to come back and look for another running back to really pair and just kind of get a good semblance here. From looking at the board, I think Tony Pollard and David Montgomery are the two guys I'm going to be looking for in the sixth round here. I think Tony Pollard has upside, especially with potentially Tajay Spears not starting the season right away. David Montgomery, Old Faithful, he just keeps getting – I don't want to say he's getting like disrespected, but people just don't expect him to kind of put up numbers. And the thing is like they like using him. But as I say that, David Montgomery goes. So we're going to take Tony Pollard here. And just in general, this is a very, very strong depth team here so far. Like this is exactly how I like to build teams usually is I'm not going to take a quarterback early. I'm not going to take a tight end early. I'm going to load up at running back and wide receiver and feel very good about it. So moving into the 7th round here, I'm still at this point not really looking at quarterback. I think there's some guys further down this board that I'm very comfortable going late QB and streaming if I have to. Tight end wise, I do think TJ Hawkinson's a guy I would pull the trigger on in this next round if he's there. But as I say that, the curse always happens. TJ Hawkinson goes. So not necessarily a horrible thing for me. Basically, all that means is I can load up at wide receiver and running back even more. Guys like Jalen Waddle, Ted McMillan, Chris Olave is interesting. I think Jordan Addison is going to be a little underrated due to the suspension. With him being my wide receiver 4, I'm not really too worried though, to be honest. Like, I don't have any guys that have players until week 5 bye. So London, JSN, and Metcalf. And by that point, Addison would just be back on my team. And so it really isn't going to affect me here. But I'm going to be curious to see if Ted McMillan lasts here because I think him in the 7th round could be very, very good value for your team here on ESPN. And just from scrolling down to I think there's some pretty good wide receiver value here on ESPN. Guys like Emeka Egbuka being very heavily underrated on here. Curious where Matthew Golden goes. I wonder if did he already go? He did not. So that could be another thing to take in mind. Yeah, Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Higgins, Emeka Egbuka. How far down is Matthew Golden? That's pretty crazy. Wide receiver 74. Oh, he got drafted already. Okay, so someone did reach on Golden. That's interesting. I mean, Joe Mixon, Dobbins are interesting, but I just think there's too much value here at the wide receiver. Well, because all the guys I wanted went. So I think at this point, it's going to be okay to take another running back. I'm going to take the risk here on Joe Mixon in the 7th. It may be a reach, but I feel fine already having 3 running backs on my team. So at this point, I'm probably going to take another wide receiver, and I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be number 1 on my list here, followed by Emeka Egbuka. You may say I'm reaching a little bit, but I think these guys are being undervalued on ESPN specifically. And there we go. Ricky Pearsall in the 8th. And we're just loading up. I mean, I think there's plenty of late round tight end guys. I think if I have to play Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, I'm okay with that. And I'm curious how many tight ends have been drafted already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. So unless people start taking second tight ends, I'm happy to go late tight end. I'd probably lean Tyler Warren, Kincaid. I don't know if I'm going to do the Kyle Pitts thing ever again. Quarterback wise, yeah, I mean, look at this. Kyler Murray's still there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 teams have quarterbacks. Looks like 10 teams have quarterbacks. Caleb just went. Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Drake May. These are all guys I'm very comfortable with as my quarterback 1 in a single QB league, going with a late quarterback kind of build. This is a good team. This is a good team. I really, most of my leagues are on Sleeper these days, and ESPN has the most exploitable ADP, I would say, of any platform usually. Yahoo can be interesting too. So I'm going to be curious to see how the Yahoo drafts end up going as well. If you guys are drafting on ESPN, let me know in the comments if this video was helpful for you guys. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe if you're learning something from this mock draft, just seeing, kind of how someone who does hundreds of fantasy drafts every year processes some of these drafts. I really just go for upside. go for upside later in the draft. I like to be safe and just draft best player available for the first couple rounds. I really don't try to go in with too much of a set strategy on any given moment. On this one, we were kind of experimenting more with a hero RB build with kind of a fourth round running back kicker. And then we were able to snag Pollard and Mixon to really kind of diversify this team. And in general, like, I just think this team is turning out very, very good. Like, there's still some great targets here. I'm going to snag Jaden Higgins, guy I spoke about as a late round steal about a week ago on the channel. So if you guys are interested in watching that video, make sure to go back to our late round steals video. So once again, I mean, quarterbacks are starting to come off the board. It looks like some people are starting to take second ones, a couple auto draft picks coming off the board. So I'm going to take a quarterback just to be safe. I'm going to go for the upside of Drake May, see if he can become some sort of running threat. I do think Jordan Love at this point in the draft is a very, very good value as well. And I've spoke about if you're going to wait super, super far, I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I don't mind targeting either at that point in the draft if you're just going to wait until the complete end. So we do still need a tight end. I think Kincaid and Warren are the two guys on my list right now. Let's see if one of them falls to my next pick. Other than that, we're just going to start loading up on some high upside guys. I like Trey Benson. He's a guy I've spoken about on a couple of videos. Wide receiver wise, I think there is still some value. I think Luther Burden's interesting going for the upside of a rookie. I think Christian Kirk, Wan'Dale Robinson, a little underrated as well. Brandon Ayuk, someone I'm probably going to stay away from. Now, he's going super late, but I just keep scrolling by him, and it's very possible Brandon Ayuk doesn't really play until like the 6th week of the season. So for me, I'm probably going to try to snag, I don't know, maybe 1-2 more wide receivers here at some point. Looks like we have 3 more bench spots, and we need a tight end as well. So probably 1 more wide receiver and 2 more running backs is kind of how I'm going to play this one out. I'm going to be looking at tight end here. I think Dalton Kincaid's a guy that I'm going to be looking to draft with this next pick. Just because I don't want to have to take Dallas Goedert. I think Jake Ferguson's fine if you get forced into it really late. And just like I said that, Dalton Kincaid goes. So at this point, I'm just going to go and take some other players because I don't really care enough at tight end. I think it's auto draft. I think Braylon Allen's a guy I feel very comfortable drafting here. He's looked good. He's gotten some run. I think his snap percentage is going to be increased a little bit. So we are going to need a tight end. A couple auto drafts kind of made this a little different. So I'm happy to get Jake Ferguson. He had a down year last year. It was a weird year for the Cowboys. Dak was out for some of it, obviously. But in general, if you're telling me that I'm stacked at every other position and I'm just running Jake Ferguson out there, I'm happy to do that. And we'll see if someone pops from tight end. Honestly, I might even take a shot on like an Isaiah Likely with my last pick or something. Chigo Okonkwo as well if I'm looking to double up on tight end. And I don't like any of the other players. Wide receiver wise, I think Christian Kirk is interesting. Like I said, Luther Burden. Just going after upside with a couple of these players. Running back wise, I'm not super in love with what I'm seeing here. I wonder if according to ESPN ADP, he probably did go, would be my guess. Nick Chubb probably went. I wonder how early Nick Chubb goes. But I'll bring up the board if you guys are trying to look kind of how it's played out for the last couple rounds. This is just a different view so you guys can look. We're going to be up pretty soon. I got 2 guys in the queue, a couple wide receivers, and Christian Kirk and Luther Burden that I'm going to be targeting. And we're up next, and both of those players are still there. So we have Jaden Higgins. So I'm going to lean towards Luther Burden for the upside. I don't hate Christian Kirk, honestly. I'm just going to get someone from a different team. I don't want to double up back to back with Texans wide receivers. So we do have one more bench spot here. For me, I think I kind of like the upside of going after tight end here. Um, if we knew more information about likely he would be a guy I don't mind targeting, I think I am going to double the tight end here just because it was the last position I took. Um, so now we're just going to go DST and kicker. And it's ESPN's not going to allow us to take anything else. And it's totally fine. I usually save these to the end, really not too concerned. I usually will go DST over kicker personally, just first. I could do a whole video on defensive rankings, but just for the sake of this video, I'm not going to overthink it too much. Also, the draft board is freaking out, so it's not really allowing me much here. But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think of the team so far here? Like, wonder if there's a way to look better at the roster. But Drake May, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Drake London, JSN, Ferguson, Metcalf. I love this bench, though. Pollard, Mixon, Pearsall, Jaden Higgins, Braylon Allen, Luther Burden, Chigo Conquo. Like, that's just very, very good value. I think just to be fun, we're going to take the 70-yard kicker himself, Cam Little. No bonus points for 70 yards, but that is very impressive. But yeah, I mean, in general, this team turned out very, very strong. I love getting kind of that RB strong approach in the first round. I just think it sets your team up super well because I still was able to get 3 wide receivers. I mean, you could even go 4 wide receivers. Adding Pearsall is a guy I believe the upside in. We're going to go Giants. I think they could have some pretty high sack numbers. They're kind of a team I wouldn't mind targeting later in drafts. So yeah, I mean that is going to be our team here. Like in general, I think it turned out very strong. I really like how we played out here. So I'm going to go through here, but in general, I mean, I think there's some very interesting picks with ESPN drafts. This is way too high for Tyreek Hill for me personally, but okay. Well, thank you guys for coming to the channel for our ESPN mock draft here. I'm going to do some more videos on Yahoo. We'll do some on Sleeper. Also, if you guys are interested in Dynasty content, we have so many videos on the channel. I am taking a little hiatus to do redraft content as we ramp up for that. But there's so much Dynasty content from the summer that we are really here to help you guys win. But I appreciate you checking the channel out and have a good day.